Today I will be introducing Matt Kaplan. He is the founder and CEO of Ace Entertainment, focused on making feature films, television series, and digital content for youth audiences. The former president of Awesomeness Films, Kaplan has produced some of the most buzzy young adult films, including the runaway success To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Hey, can I talk to you?
Me?
Yeah. Look, I appreciate it, but it's never gonna happen.
I'm sorry, what?
I think it's really cool that you think I have golden specks in my eyes. It's just, whoa.
Oh my God. The letters are out.
And next year's sequel, To All the Boys I've Loved Before 2.
Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know who I am?
John Ambrose McLaren.
Nobody compares to you.
I'm gonna need that letter back.
I need proof that someone actually liked me in middle school.
Everyone liked you in middle school.
I didn't really care about everyone.
The Perfect Date, the Are You Afraid of the Dark TV reboot, and features such as Before I Fall, The Lazarus Effect, and Viral. Moderating tonight's Q&A is producer Tova Laiter. Tova's credits include Glory with Denzel Washington, Oliver Stone's Nixon, Evita with Antonio Banderas, and Madonna and Varsity Blues. Can we give a warm NYFA welcome?
All for you, Matt.
Not for me, for the movie. For the movie. I hope you guys liked it.
It's like the perfect rom-com, and it's not just for their age, because I watched it on Netflix and I got all caught up.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. The only difference from rom-coms that I used to see is that we have an Asian woman lead, which, you know, we haven't seen in movies, and surprise, it was a success.
Yeah, it was, I think that was really exciting for us. I think ultimately we were feeling like there hasn't been enough Korean American leads in these movies, especially for teenagers or young people.
Yes.
And as soon as we read the script and the book specifically, we were super passionate about telling that story. And
was it in the book? Was that?
Yeah, she was in the book. And once we met Lana Condor, we were like, this is the girl who's got to be the lead.
You know that Lana Condor took a course like yours here, do you?
Yeah.
You can be Lana Condor.
So, what was the origin of the film? Where did it start? Who found it? How did it come together?
So it was funny. It was actually set up at Sony Pictures, and the book had been out for about 4 years. And I had read it back at Lionsgate when I was a studio executive. And once I had started Awesomeness, we started to look at what cool projects we had looked at over the years. And Sony hadn't made the movie. So I called some friends over at Sony and said, if you're not going to make this, can I buy it from you? I didn't love the script they developed, but I did love the book.
Yes.
So I called the book author and said, would you be willing to allow us to buy it from Sony for you? And so we did, and then we hired this amazing young writer who was a playwright who hadn't really written that many screenplays, but all her plays were amazing. Her name was Sofia Alvarez. So she did a pass on the script and turned out great. Then we hired our director, and we met Noah Centineo and Lana Condor, and we just felt like they were the perfect match. And so we greenlit the movie 6 months later, and
So you did it at Awesomeness.
yeah. So
Netflix just picked it up for
Netflix
distribution?
we had made the movie and we finished it, and I called some friends over at Netflix and I said, I made this movie, I think you guys are gonna like it, and they watched it and bought it.
Have you noticed that he has friends everywhere? Notice that.
I don't
So-
know, a lot of friends.
That's a good strategy to have.
A lot of friends.
So, and where did Awesomeness have funds for production and development?
Yeah, so it was, I don't know how much you guys even know what Awesomeness is, but
Tell us how you started in the business. Maybe we'll get to that.
we're at the very beginning. I don't know, I was taking classes like this. I went to Columbia University and studied film. When I graduated, I went and started to make short form content, and YouTube was just getting popular, and so I started making short videos with my friends. after I kind of had made enough videos that no one was paying attention to.
What kind was it? Comedy?
Mostly comedy
Yes.
and stuff that I thought would work there.
Yes.
And then I ended up at Lionsgate, which was a film studio, and I was an assistant, and I just started working my way to be an executive. And I was part of the team that made the Hunger Games, which was really fun. And then I kind of knew, as a younger executive, I wanted to be the one making the final decisions. And so they gave me an opportunity to run a division that made movies from like $1 to $10 million, mostly like young adult films, comedies, and horror movies. And so that kind of became an area that I loved. And so I just kind of started to make a bunch of movies. And so I never worried about what price we were making for. Sometimes people only want to make Avengers movies, but I was passionate about telling good stories and not worrying about, where they got distributed. And luckily today, I think what you guys all get to experience, like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, like allows us to tell cool stories and it'll find the right home. When I first started in the business, those things didn't exist. So it was either theaters or no one really saw it. So it's a cool time to make movies.
So from there?
So from Lionsgate, as I mentioned earlier, I ended up partnering with a guy named Jason Blum, who does Blumhouse, which is a bunch of horror movies. So we made
I've seen all of his movies because they're all very successful.
Yeah, he's had a lot of success.
Every horror movie that is successful is Jason Blum. Okay.
So we made about 8 movies together over 3 years.
Really?
Which was, for me, because I was an executive, so I was more from a marketing and distribution perspective, and then I learned from Jason how to really start to produce, which was an amazing time for me. And then I got a call from...
So let's stay for a minute on that.
Yeah.
What did you learn so much from Jason? Because Jason makes movies for $5 million and then they make 150 million.
Well, I think what I probably learned most was just the ability to speak your truth and chase things you're passionate about. And I think you guys, if you love a script or a story, he would say to me, like, get on the plane and go meet that random person in Ohio and go buy their life rights. And I think he was super passionate about storytelling. And to be a producer, you have to be willing to go the extra mile at all costs, whether that means, setting it up and believing it or making it for cheaper and finding the right distribution later. And so that was a really valuable experience for me. And then I got a phone call after working with Jason from a guy named Jeffrey Katzenberg who ran DreamWorks. And he called to say, there's this random company, Awesomeness, there's 13 people, and we're about to put in $100 million. Will you help go run it? And so I met this guy, Brian Robbins, who you made a movie with called Varsity Blues, which was one of my favorites as a kid.
It just sold to Jeffrey Katzenberg.
I know. Well, isn't that funny?
Small world here in Hollywood.
But yeah, so we grew Awesomeness from 15 people to 400, and we were just focusing on making movies and TV shows and YouTube content for young adults, and that was.
Did all the shows on Awesomeness? Did all the shows go digital, or did they?
Some went. Some of the movies went theatrical. Most of the TV shows got sold to Hulu and places like that, and some of them were just on YouTube. So it was cool.
So now tell me about how Awesomeness had money to develop and produce this kind of movie.
Yeah, so Verizon and Hearst made a big investment in the company. So they basically had said to me, well, if you get more or less $5 to $10 million per movie to go make about 5 movies a year, 6 movies a year. And so I had to set up different specific partners. So we had sales agents in Good Universe, who was my old boss, this guy Joe Drake. And then once we started to get in the rhythm with places like Netflix, we knew what they were looking for, and we were having open dialogue about that. And so we started to greenlight a bunch of these movies. And the guy who's now directing the next, which I shouldn't say, but it'll be announced tomorrow, but we're making 2 more of these movies that we're shooting now. And so the guy who's directing them is a guy named Michael Famignari, who's an amazing cinematographer, who I've made about 7 movies with. And so he shot this movie, which created that cool style and look. And I think I attribute a lot of the success of this movie to him. So.
You also made The Perfect Date, right?
Yes. So right after we made The Perfect Date, because I loved Noah, and we had been sitting on that script for quite some time, and we were waiting for the boy who I thought was super special. And as soon as we made To All the Boys, I said, we got to do another movie with Noah. So we made that.
And he's now a star.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, even The Perfect Date was watched by 50 million people in the first 3.5 weeks of when it came out. And To All the Boys is the most watched movie of all time on Netflix.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to open up the for student questions.
So what's like the first step when you want to produce a movie? What's like some of the first things you would do?
I would first try to figure out what kind of movies you're passionate about telling. For me, I love trying, because a lot of other producers are older than me in the business, so I just always kind of felt like I should stick to movies for younger people. But I didn't want to get pigeonholed into one genre, so I don't want to only make comedies or only make romance or horror. But I just was like, maybe I should just like look at everything we look at from like a youthful perspective. So typically we will option a book or, you know, buy an article from the newspaper or whatever it is, and then hire a writer. And then I'll usually do that outside of the studio system. So I'll personally either finance, or sometimes you'll just ask a friend who you love and have a good relationship with to write the script on spec for free. And then once we have the script, that kind of is the jumping off point. Once you have a good script, amazing things can happen. If you don't have a good script, it's really hard to push it up the hill. What's up?
I have a question. So when people come into this industry, they don't really know if they want to go into the acting, producing, directing realm. What was like the first thing you did that just made you go, oh man, I need to be in here, you know?
I think I like putting things together. I think I just looked at like what I was good at. I mean, when I was your guys' age, I was at Columbia and I took writing classes and directing classes, and to be honest, I wasn't that good at it. But I knew I was good at assessing material, and like I knew I had an instinct for what I felt like I could sell and market. And so I just spent a lot of my time making relationships with great writers and great directors. And then I focused on making relationships with the people who have to like sell the movies and distribute the movies. So for me, it was just like kind of a slow process, but I just tried a bunch of stuff and failed and figured out what I was good at.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't overthink that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. I remember you mentioned that you were a graduate from Columbia College.
Yeah.
And is it a film major?
Yeah, I was a film major.
Do you think going to a film school is the best, will give you the best opportunities to go into the industry?
I think a great film program can really be helpful because it gives you a nice baseline. But no, I think you can just start to work if that is a better situation for you, and try to find a great mentor or two. I was fortunate, as someone we know, like I had a boss named Ali Shermer who was just amazing and taught me so much. And I think I've always gravitated towards people who have helped like teach me. And I've had 5 or 6 amazing mentors who have helped my path. So I don't think you need it, but of course it's helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So in regards to this movie, it's an adaptation of a book.
Yeah.
I would like to know what's the sort of intricacies and the logistics of producing an adaptation of source material rather than an original idea. You said you didn't like the original script Sony wrote. You talked with the author.
Yeah. We love adapting books because I feel like you can always go back to the original source, which is that author, and talk to them about what inspired them and why they wrote it the way they wrote it. And even in this movie in particular, like I didn't really understand Korean American culture the way that one should to produce this movie. So I had to spend hours with the author and ask her, like, but like, why would she wear this piece of clothing versus that? What kind of food are they making in their house? So we spent months deliberating on what those choices were, and ultimately, like, we invited the author to come to set, and she stayed on set the whole movie. And so that's really fun when you're collaborating with people, to have another person to bounce ideas off of. Because sometimes when you develop an original script, you're just with yourself and the writer, and you have no idea if people are going to dig it.
Thank you.
Of course.
How do you make relationships with people in the film industry?
How do you do it?
Yeah.
Damn, that's a good question. I would say, someone gave me this advice once, and I think it's really true. It's follow-up. Like, no one's gonna wait to follow up with you. Like, everyone here can take my email and hit me up and ask me questions, and I promise you it may not be tomorrow, but I will hit you back. And I think as long as you are passionate about seeking that out, people in this business want to help. So if you put yourself in a position to ask for help, I would say start off by trying to get experience, go to an agency or a management company and just watch. But then don't just watch, try to make friends with these people and be helpful. And I think once you start to do that, good things can happen.
If you get rejected at the first time, do you still follow up?
Dude, we get rejected every day. I think that's the thing. There's so many times I work on a script for a year and I send it out to Warner Brothers and Lionsgate and Sony, and they pass on it. And then I try to understand why they don't like it or what's wrong with it. But I think if you're going to be in this business, you got to wrap your head around rejection is meaningless. Just do it again. That's just the first stop.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great, thanks.
Good.
So my question was, when did you find out that you wanted to do this? Were you always born with this, or did you one day wake up and discover it? How was it?
That I wanted to produce movies?
Yeah, work in this.
I think I always really wanted to do this. Even as a kid, I loved movies and that was my passion. And I think, I played football in college and I went to film school, and those are the only two things I like doing for fun. So if you're lucky enough to do what you love in business, then you'll have a pretty fun career. And so I've been fortunate to find something I love, and it's not work, because I work with my best friends and I get to wake up every day and read books To All the Boys and then try to make it happen. And so I think I've always known in my heart that was what I wanted to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What?
So I think everyone came here because they want to be successful in the business, and I just wanted to know do you have any advice on how to become successful and make it big time? Just wondering.
I mean, I don't think there's one piece of advice that I can give you, but I would say that if you try to fail as fast as possible and try a lot of stuff, don't, in your teens and in your 20s, you should just do anything you think you might do it as fast as you can, because you want to wake up and be so passionate that you can't imagine doing anything else, and that's how I feel about producing. And so I think if you feel that way, ultimately you'll be in an amazing position to wake up excited every morning, and then you'll never look at it as work. And so if you don't look at it as work, then you're not going to care if it's 3 in the morning and you're still there. And I think I leave tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. to go back to All the Boys, and we shoot till 2 a.m. But I don't really care, because I love it. I love the director. I love the writer. I love being with the actors. It's my baby, so I want to be there. But I don't want to wake up at 5 in the morning and work till 3 in the morning. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. I was wondering, how do you form relationships and interact with people on set?
On the set, he's the boss.
The set's a different story. I think the harder part's actually the stuff in the navigating Hollywood, the managers and the agents and the scripts and all that. Once you're on set, you usually hire depending on where you're shooting the movie or TV show, whether it's we shoot this in Vancouver, and so there's a individual named Chris Foss that we always use in Vancouver because he lives in Vancouver. So he helps me hire all the grip and electric and all the people who work, the 110 people that work on the movie. But once we get to the place of where we're actually shooting, I'm really just worried about the performances and making sure we're not spending too much money.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi.
What's up?
I was wondering how hands-on you are with the more artistic side of the filming process.
I think it's all about who you're working with. So as I mentioned earlier, Michael Famignari, who's a cinematographer, has a really amazing handle on aesthetics. And so I on this particular film. I am totally hands off because he has such a good handle on like how we shoot it versus, as he would admit, like he'll say, Matt, I need your help on what we do with Noah's wardrobe or the production design, like what do the bed sheets look like to the wallpaper. And so I get really deep in some of those decisions, and I had no idea what Lana should be wearing. And so I had to have many consultants and especially the author because it was very personal to her. So it's my job to like realize what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and then figure out who can help us, make it right.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm back.
You're back.
So you said you were an assistant, and how did that happen? Did you just get lucky, or was it like they were hiring?
My case was different only because I had already started to make content, and so the woman who hired me originally at Lionsgate, her and I already had a relationship, so she kind of just hired me to teach me. But I think if you're just looking to get your foot in the door, I think starting at agencies or management companies or production companies is a great way to just interview. And if you're graduating from college or film school or whatever, even high school, if you're super passionate and willing to learn, I think in Hollywood people will give you a chance. So.
Okay.
I also have to say that we used to hire a lot of people that interned with us.
Yeah.
If you intern and we see that you go to the extra mile and we really like you and you have something to contribute, we always say, when you graduate, contact us.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I interned at WME and UTA, and then I eventually ended up interning for a guy named Todd Phillips, who's a big film director. And then I made my way to CBS and started working in sports and entertainment at CBS. So I interned from the time I was 18 until I graduated college. So.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
How does selling something to Netflix or Hulu work?
It can work a lot of different ways. I mean, they have so many divisions now because these companies have become so large. If you have a book and an idea, you will go to one group, and if you have a finished product, you go to another group, which is called acquisitions. Most of the stuff we sell is to the acquisitions group because we sell finance, and then we make it, and then we sell it to them when it's done. But Netflix has the capability to reach the biggest audience and has a lot of money now to chase the right project. So you can go in through an agency, but the truth is, it's better to make your own relationship with those buyers directly and just call them and say, hey, I got something cool for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of them will not answer you, but maybe one will.
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
Hi.
What's up? How you doing?
Okay, so you said the most important thing was the script. So after you have the script, let's say you got your writer and everything is cool. So who do you call after you have the script? Who's the first person you talk to on the phone?
So my company, we try to strategize on why we're making it. So when we develop a script and we're like, okay, now the script's great. From the day we bought the book or just had the idea, we're like, God, wouldn't it be amazing if one of these directors wanted to do it? And so the next thing I have my employees do is put together a list of who is the manager and the agent who represents that director. And so then I'll say to them, well, if we don't know them, I'm like, well, someone better get to know that manager or agent and become friends with them so we can actually get that person to send them our script. So a lot of our time is spent on developing relationships with people that we feel share the same kind of sensibility as we do in order to see the future and say, okay, we know we're going to develop this for these 10 directors, and if we don't know them personally or their representatives, we better figure out a way to get to be friends with them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Make relationship with half the people that are here.
Yeah, that's a good start.
They will be the directors and the writers and the people working in the jobs.
Well, do you have a main life lesson you want to bring to the younger generation with your movies? To the younger generation?
I think trust in your own instincts and your own self and what you think is right and wrong. And I think that a lot of the stories we're telling are are about coming of age of figuring out yourself. And I think we all live in such a controversial moment in where our world is at. And so, but I think for the most part, people want to be good. And I think as long as you keep touching of what feels right in your own heart, like, and follow your instincts and your gut, it will more times than not lead you down a really good path for you. So I think just trust in yourself and try to stay in touch with your feelings and be true to yourself, and you'll figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
I have a question. As a producer, would you prefer to hire old and well-known composers or young, and unknown?
Always young.
And how
It's
would
my
you,
job.
How would you find them then?
Look, I feel like if I'm not doing it, then who's going to do it? Because I feel like it's so much easier to hire people who have a lot of credits and experience. But there's nothing, even as a producer, there's nothing more exciting than finding a young composer or director or writer. The woman who wrote To All the Boys, Sophia, hadn't had any big film credits. But we had been reading her plays. And so when we hired her, it's been a really amazing journey to watch her break out. And I think the same thing goes. The composer of this film was someone who didn't have huge credits prior to this film, but he was a friend of a friend, and he did a great job.
So would you also suggest or give an advice to, like, send an email, for example, to someone with your music or with your composition as a to show what you can and maybe get hired?
The hard part is obviously I can't, or whoever, studios can't accept those. I mean, again, happy to help you guys, but there's just so many people who send me things that I don't even know who they are, right? So the best way to do it is actually say hey, can you help introduce me to this composer and get a mentor? That for what I've experienced is an amazing way to help break through, because then when that mentor calls and says, I've got the next most talented composer, writer, director, whatever, then there's a little bit of oh my God, if they think this person's so talented, then obviously I should pay attention.
All right, cool, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey.
So, in the most recent season of Game of Thrones, there was a Starbucks cup found in one of the episodes. So I was wondering,
isn't that dramatic?
Yeah, I was wondering, what is the process when a continuity error is found even after the film is released?
Who cares? It's fun.
You like finding them?
I don't know. Did it bother you that the Starbucks cup was in Game of Thrones? I kind of liked it.
Well, it wasn't that. I was just thinking, if it's a film that you've worked on or anything that you've worked on, don't you think it would affect you?
I think there's, I don't know, it's the least of my worries. I hope that we don't have them, but the reality is the script supervisor or the person who left that Starbucks cup on that, table didn't mean to do it. And we try, even if we have to pay extra to visual effects it out, we try our best to not let those things happen, of course. But as long as it doesn't take you out of the story and you feel emotionally connected to whatever's happening on screen, that's what's most important. So I try not to worry about mess-ups, and I just try to worry about feeling connected to the story we're trying to tell.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi. I was wondering, what are things that generally inspire your ideas or content for movies? And if there were any specific or memorable ones in the past?
Yeah. Again, as I said, our company is really focused on youthful stories, but in all genres. So an example is I woke up to a text message from my two friends who are directors who created Catfish. And they're like, did you read about this story about this kid who's 12 years old, and his parents were getting divorced, and he flew to Bali? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? So then I Googled it, and on the front cover of CNN was some 12-year-old kid stole his parents' credit card, flew to Bali, and Home Alone style, went on vacation. And then the parents had to who hated each other, had to get on a plane and fly to go get the kid. And so I was like, that's a cool idea. And so then a friend of mine who's a big writer who wrote a lot of the Will Ferrell movies like Neighbors, I called him. I said, "Take a look at this article. I think there's something here." And then he was like, "This is amazing." And then I got those directors who then had done this movie Nerve. And so we all just teamed up, and then we sold it, and now we're going to make it for Paramount. And so I think sometimes it just...
But didn't you have to contact the parents?
Oh, yeah. So then I called... This is funny. I actually have a video of it. Then I called the mom of the kid, and I said, "I want to buy your life rights." And so then I had a conference call on Skype with the mom and the kid that I videoed, even though they didn't know that. It was cuckoo, because the kid just was what you think he is. He was just a wild child. But he was amazing, and he was like charismatic, and so we ended up sharing that with that writer, and so again, so then we got the life rights, and then Paramount bought them, and I don't know. So it kind of just pay attention and read a lot, like read the news and pay attention to what you guys think is cool going on around you, like whether it's Get Out or Us. Like there's so many interesting ideas to come up with, and talk to your friends about it, like. And you know, a lot of cool stuff will happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello. You mentioned that making movies now is a lot different than when you started in this industry. I was just wondering, what would you say are some of the both like positive and negative aspects that come along with making movies in this day and age?
It's only positive. So that's the good news. Look, just to go back into my life a little bit, like I made a movie that I was so proud of that you guys, I don't even know where you can find it, but it was called They Came Together. And it's like a spoof movie about romantic comedies. It's Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd and like a million other famous actors from the guys who created Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah.
And so like I was such a huge fan of this guy David Wayne and this writer Michael Showalter. And so for me, being able to make a movie with them for like under $5 million was a dream come true. But there was no Netflix, there was no Hulu. So it was either like put it out in theaters and spend $30 million in advertising, which was a lot, given the movie only cost us $4.5 million. But in today's world, we could have made that movie, sold it to Netflix, and you guys would have all seen it the day it came out. Back then, it was basically just put to like a version of Blockbuster. And so the fun part is you can make stuff, and ultimately all we want is to have people see it. And so I think there's an amazing moment that we're in to like make cool stuff, and instead of it just going to Blockbuster, like you can actually have it be seen around the world. So that's the fun part.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All positive.
What's the best piece of advice that you've gotten in regards to the industry?
Kind of what I said before. I think it's making relationships is a huge deal if you're going to work in Hollywood. And there's no task too small, and don't have an ego about the process, and just truly like follow up with everybody, because everyone's super busy. But if you actually are as passionate as they are about making movies, then like people want you to succeed. So put yourself out there, don't be afraid, ask favors, ask for advice, and then follow up. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Hi, so my question is, like, based on people that you've worked with in the industry, what is the best quality like an actor can have, and like what makes people like enjoyable to work with?
Be nice. I don't know. I said to Noah after he got really famous, because he went from like 100,000 followers to 20 million followers on Instagram. I was like, now you're really famous, now everyone's paying attention. Just, and to his credit, he is just this way naturally. Like, just be a good person. And I think my generation, and hopefully it touches down to your guys, like, no one wants bad behavior. And I think there was generations that existed prior to mine that existed, but I think it's changing, and I think everyone has an opportunity to make it. So people want to help, so just be cool.
And I wanted to tell you, as an actress, because we had a Q&A with Spielberg, and somebody asked him, what are you looking for in an actor? And he said, to know their lines. The performance, he said, is my job.
Right.
But, you know, just come in and know your lines. So it's very
That's a good
basic.
start.
What's the most stressed out the most stressed out you've been in this industry, or like in your field?
I deal with a lot of people's emotions every day, including my own. So you have a writer who wrote something who wakes up feeling like, I wrote this, I hope you like it. And now I have to read it, and then I have to be sensitive towards how much time and effort they've put into it. You have a director who makes a movie that I watch, either I do or I don't like it, or if we've made a movie and now I've got to go sell it, I need to like make sure everyone wants to buy it, but there's a lot of people's feelings in all of this because it's not the same as like being an accountant. Like people pour out their either true stories or even if they're not true, like you've written this script, or if you're an actor, you're literally crying on screen. Like there's a lot of emotions at stake, so you've got to be really sensitive about that process. And so just be sensitive towards other people around you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I heard that Lara Jean's phone background was taken by a crew member. Is there any truth by that?
It might have been. Those photos, we took a lot of photos and everyone was taking photos on set while they were in wardrobe. So I don't know, I know which photo you're talking about. I don't know actually who took it, but I can let you know tomorrow if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, hi.
Cool
My
hat.
name is. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool haircut.
Oh, thanks.
So, my name is Katja Weber. In case, I was just wondering if there's imagine the situation if your boss comes up with a horrible idea and you just how to act. Like you need to pretend it's wonderful or just tell the truth.
I've had a lot of bosses with horrible ideas. It's your job to say like, oh, interesting, and then talk them into your good idea without telling them theirs is bad.
Oh.
So just have the good ones in your pocket so that you can get them off of that bad idea.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
You see why he's successful?
Yeah.
That is a very important
Smart
thing.
guy.
Yes.
Hello.
Hey.
So I'm sure that you get asked a lot for advice from young people who are trying to get big in the industry. Favors from people. So what makes you want to work with people who are asking you for advice or favors, and what makes you not want to work with them?
Passion and a tenacity to learn, I'll always help. Like if you follow up with me 3 times, even if I haven't hit you back, I will always get back to you. Because then you're just like, this person cares as much as I do, and so why would I not want to help people? I think that is my responsibility. That's why I'm here tonight. I feel like I had a lot of people that influenced my life and helped me and prop me up, and I've got to give back. What would I not want? I don't know. You got to be a real asshole not to want me to help. I don't know what the negative is, but just be passionate, be a nice person, and good things will happen.
Thank you.
And not everybody is going to respond, but some people will. So you just keep going.
Hi, I was wondering if you have any advice for people who want to go into script writing and how people who write scripts can get their script seen so it can be made into a movie. Here's
the best advice I can get, because I was having this argument with someone the other day. Start with a great big idea. That doesn't mean it has to be expensive. But if you start from a small idea no one can access, then you better be the best writer ever. Because if your story is just about 2 people who work, at the Studio City Starbucks, it's going to be tough to, get Will Ferrell to be in that movie. Versus, we have a movie we're about to make, and it's about the Pope is possessed in the Vatican. So it's as big of a big idea as you can come up with, but it's not, for a horror movie, it's not that expensive. So I think start by trying to come up with, depending on the genre of story you want to tell, something that really feels sticky and modern and zeitgeisty, so that when you pitch it back, it can really resonate. And I think even today, more than ever, even with To All the Boys, like, what I was so passionate about is, like, I haven't seen a Korean American family have, especially for teenagers, like, have their story told. So for us, like, as popular as the books were, like, that was the thing that I was like, even if no one wants to see this, like, that's what I cared about. And I felt like other people will too, and we ended up being right. So try to pick ideas that you think are sticky.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, so what's next for you? Tell us a little bit.
What's next? So we just finished shooting a horror show for Nickelodeon called Are You Afraid of the Dark? So that went really well. I think we'll hopefully do more episodes of that. We have a book by the same author as Before I Fall called Replica, which is about kind of a love triangle with clones who are on the run. So we're going to make that with Haley Lou Richardson in January. And another book called Hello, Goodbye, and Everything in Between, which is another book that was adapted by Ben York Jones. We've got 2 great actors who are going to be in that. So a lot of the same stuff.
Are they all in the budget range that we talked about?
I think they're all like 5 to 30 million. I don't, again, as a younger producer, like, I don't really want to be doing the $100 million
Yes.
Transformers movies right now. I feel like maybe that day will come for me, but I'm really happy making and telling stories about young audiences and their experiences.
So, do you have a formula for great rom-com? A pitch of this, a pound of that? Or do you think it's just about the individual story?
No, I think it's about the individual story. And then,
Oh no, I thought we were going to get a recipe here for success.
no, there's no recipe. I think it's all about storytelling and telling stories that you think people will care about. Then the recipe is find the best writers and the best directors and the best actors that you can and make relationships with them. So when we make a movie, guys like Noah or girls like Lana want to come make another movie with us.
Right.
So we're already talking to Lana and Noah about what are we going to do together next. So, you know.
And the truth is that in all my time from Hollywood, which has been a long, long time, it's really people formed a certain relationship. Like when I worked at Imagine, it was like with Tom Hanks when he was young and
Yeah.
Michael Keaton and, you know what I mean? It was kind of a family that, you know, because it's so hard to really get people, you know, to do your stuff when you need them, when, you know, so when you have a little family. And, you know, Ron and Brian, they really kept the relationship.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just keep relationships and then...
And now we have a relationship with him. So
Yeah.
we are all set.
So we'll talk tomorrow.
We are all set. Well, I really, the fact that you have to leave tomorrow morning and so early in the morning and be on the set, and yet you really made the effort to come here and give some advice and wisdom for these young people who want to be in the movie business and hopefully be successful as you are. It's really tremendous of you to do that, and we really appreciate it. Let's give him a hand.